Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Monday, the start of another week. Big week, as they all are, as it comes to Arsenal Football Club at the moment. Huge game tomorrow against Chelsea as Arsenal look to get back on track after 4 games without a win. Mikel Arteta has just been speaking about that game, so I'll go over what he's been talking about in his press conference and look ahead to that big match at the Emirates. But first of all, look, tonight, the biggest of occasions at the Emirates. 60,000 sellout Arsenal women in their Champions League semi-final against Wolfsburg. First time ever in history that Arsenal women have sold out the Emirates. Going to be a really, really special night there. 2-2 after the first leg. Amazing result over there in the first leg, given the injuries that Arsenal have got at the moment. To go there, to come back and get that draw, just absolutely massive, and they've given themselves a chance. They're 1 win away from the Champions League final. It's going to be a real special night at the Emirates tonight. So good luck to everyone involved in that one. In terms of Mikel Arteta's press conference, he's just finished. Was quite defiant, I would say, sort of summing it up what he was like. He certainly wasn't waving the white flag, which I think is as expected because, look, there is still 5 games to go. Manchester City, of course, going top of the table yesterday without winning Fulham, which we were all expecting them to do. So they're now 1 point clear with a game in hand. Arsenal got 5 games to go. City have got 6 games to go. They are very heavy favourites now, obviously. Won 8 games in a row in the Premier League. City absolutely on a roll, as they always do at this stage of the season, and Arsenal have hit the sort of buffers at the exact wrong time. 4 games without a win, 3 draws, 1 defeat. Of course, that defeat at Manchester City. And look, my personal view, I've said it, I think City go on and win this title now. I'd be stunned. You never know. Anything can happen in football, as we all know. But look, I'd be shocked beyond belief if Manchester City don't go on and win the title from here. But all Arsenal can do is try and get back on track as quickly as possible and try and put as much pressure as they possibly can on Manchester City, and that's got to start with a win tomorrow night at Chelsea. Mikel's been speaking about it at his press conference, and he was definitely 100% refusing to wave the white flag. He said, "We still have the nicest part of the season to play. 5 games to go. When I look at it, it's like this is not over. I will pay a lot of money for next season to be in this position again. A lot, believe me. I just want to maximise the moment we have right now and go for it. Win tomorrow against Chelsea. That is what we have to do." And it is. It's all Arsenal can do. It's just trying to get back winning. It's so important. Whatever happens now between now and the end of the season, if the title's gone, which, as I said, I think it is, you've just still got to finish this season as strongly as possible. The worst thing that can happen for Arsenal now is to finish really, really weakly. And, you know, they've gone 4 games without a win now. They've got Chelsea tomorrow. They've got Newcastle on at the weekend. So really difficult games. I know Chelsea are in awful form, but you never know. You know, Chelsea could they've got the players to perform really, really well. It's just not happening for them at the moment. And, you know, you could easily end up, you know, Arsenal going 6-7 games without a win. They've got Brighton to come as well, who are absolutely flying under De Zerbi. So they can't afford to let it happen. They've got to find a way of getting back to the sort of form they were showing earlier on the season, because even if they don't win the title this season, they want to go into the summer feeling good about themselves and on a, you know, in sort of buoyant fashion. You don't want to go into it in a real horrible mood, you know, having just about got over the line for second because of a really dreadful end to the season. So there's lots to play for Arsenal, even if it isn't about winning the title, which Mikel Arteta is absolutely saying it is. But, you know, he would say that obviously publicly. I'm sure deep down he kind of knows that the best chance has certainly slipped away. But he was, I thought he came across in pretty positive fashion, as he always does. He said, look, it's difficult in sport. You have to accept the reality. When a team is able to take the game to a different level, like Manchester City did against Arsenal, and you're not able to step up to that, you have to recognise that there is still work to do, and don't get confused and be very humble. Recognise what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are to do better. And the reality is, as well, that for 247 days we've been with them. Tomorrow can be another day when we are still there. It's 5 games to go. There are a lot of things that we've done very well for 10 months, I think. Yes, the Arsenal been top of the table. That graphic flashed up in the Man City game yesterday. Arsenal been top of the table for 247 days. I think Manchester City was like 14 days or something. Ridiculous. It really, that hurt. I've got to say, when that flashed up, you're just like, oh no, how has it slipped away just at this really crucial stage right at the end of the season? But Arsenal can obviously get back to the top of the table tomorrow, and that's the important thing. Just win. put the pressure back on Manchester City and see what happens from there. And that was very much the sort of message that I took from this press conference with Mikel Arteta today. Of course, Arsenal have qualified for the Champions League. That happened in midweek when Brighton lost against Nottingham Forest. Mad result that, especially when you look at what Brighton did at the weekend, given they rested a few players as well, what they did to Wolves at the Amex. Mad that Brighton went to Nottingham Forest and lost. And those are the sort of results that, as much as you say the title is over, those are the sort of results that makes you think, you never know, anything can happen in football. Brighton, who would ever have predicted they would go to Nottingham Forest and lose 3-1, given the way Brighton have been playing and given the way Nottingham Forest have been playing. But it happened, so that's what you got to hold on to, I suppose. I've lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, that obviously saw Arsenal qualify for the Champions League, and Mikel was talking about that in his press conference today, and how obviously at the start of the season that was the objective, but he says now the thing that really pleased him is that no one really cares about that, as in seeing it as an objective, because the objective's obviously changed. And he said that, look, we're not satisfied with that, and he says that's a good thing because the team are hungry. They want more than just a Champions League. He said, within the disappointment and the spirit around everything that's happened, there's two things. First one is to recognise what a lot of people have done at the club to get us back in the Champions League, which was a difficult thing to achieve, and not a lot of people were optimistic that we had the ability to do that at the start of the season. And the second thing, that even though achieving that with 6 games to go, something I don't think has happened in more than a decade at this club, we are still not satisfied. We are still upset and we want more. We have achieved what was difficult to achieve, and we can still achieve the Premier League because there are still 5 games to go and a lot of things can happen still. What we have to do is forget about what happened last week and move on to the next game and put things right. And he's right. He's absolutely right. That's all that Arsenal can do now is forget about what happened at Manchester City. Yes, it hurt. Yes, what's gone on in the last couple of weeks has been horrendous to sort of sit through and watch, and it's really, really disappointing. But the only thing they can do now is just get back on it and try and win these last 5 games and see where that takes them. It's all they can do, and it's all hopefully they will do. And yeah, so I don't know, that the Chelsea game just feels like a horrible one to me. They're coming on the back of 5 straight defeats. I think Lampard hasn't even got a point yet, since he's been at Chelsea. He's lost every single game in every competition he's played since he's been Chelsea manager. You just look at that and think, oh God, you know what's going to happen now, don't you? Mudryk winner in the last minute or something like that at the Emirates. But we shall see. I mean, Chelsea are a dangerous opponent. Mikel was talking about them in a press conference. Clearly, they've got very good players. They can win. They can turn it on. They can perform well. And if they do that, then it's not going to be easy for Arsenal tomorrow night. But still, at home, you want to see a response. I think that's a big thing from this on tomorrow night. You want to see a response, and you kind of want to see what Mikel's going to do as well. Do you change things up? It feels like, looking at it, that Arsenal need to freshen things up. Maybe it's just gone a little bit stale the last few games, predictable. I was surprised he didn't do it against Manchester City. I thought he might, because he tends to away at Man City, try something a little bit different. He didn't do it. He sort of stuck with the team that we were all, if you were going to write down a predicted 11 for that game against Manchester City, that was the one everyone probably would have gone for, even if they were thinking maybe he might change things. That was the kind of safe 11. That's what he went for. And City comfortably sort of played around it. And I think City were probably expecting that starting 11 as well. And I think we've seen with what De Bruyne was talking about with the tactics and stuff, they kind of worked around it. It's like go long, beat the press, put it high up to Haaland, play almost long ball football, which is a little bit different for City, but it worked at the Emirates for them, and it worked again at the Etihad. And I was just a little bit surprised Arteta didn't do something a little bit different, just to maybe throw a spanner in the works a bit about what Manchester City are prepared for. So it'll be interesting to see if he does change it up again, or it does change it up this time on Tuesday night, just freshen things up a little bit, because a few players have been off form. Do you stick with the same defence now? There's no Saliba. We know that. Once again, this is what Mikel Arteta had to say about William Saliba today in the press conference. He said pretty similar. He's not going to be involved tomorrow. He hasn't improved this week at all. I'll be surprised now if we see Saliba until the end of the season. It could happen. I'm not basing that on anything, but I just kind of look at where Arsenal are. I look at how close we are to the end of the season now, and I just think, is there any point risking it? If it's going to muck things up for the summer, if there's any chance it's going to aggravate something that could end up seeing him ruled out of pre-season, and that could have an impact on next season, I just think you kind of err on the side of caution. If Arsenal was still top and really genuinely, pushing Manchester City for this title, maybe you'd risk it. But I just think now you just think, what, we'll just go with what we've got. But, do you change things up a little bit, try things out defensively? Is there a way you can bring Kivior in? The Kivior thing, I know he's a left-sided centre-back. I know Gabriel's a left-sided centre-back, but it's like you spent 20 odd million on a centre-back and you're not using him when your centre-back's injured. When your centre-back's injured, you turn into, you're playing Rob Holding, who I think we all know isn't good enough at the very, very top level. So why have you spent 20 million on this centre-back and you're not using him just because he's left-footed? Is that really a thing? I don't know. Maybe it is. I'm just not tactically and whatever. Obviously I see things a little bit differently for elite level coaches, but the Kivior thing just surprises me a little bit. Can you do that? Do you move someone to play right back, put Ben White into centre-back alongside Gabriel to give you a little bit more sort of forward momentum from the centre-back positions? Is there a way you can do that? Is Saliba, Tierney, can you do something a little bit different just to freshen things up and breathe some new life into this Arsenal team? Trossard, for me, as I've said, has to start. You're bringing Leandro Trossard, even if it's for a Saka or a Martinelli, whoever, or a Gabriel Jesus, one of those positions. I just think you've got to get Trossard on the pitch at the moment because he's playing so well. So you're playing. Do you bring in Jorginho for this one? Thomas Partey's been poor the last few weeks. Do you try something a little bit different with Jorginho in midfield? For me, I feel like he's got to change things a little bit for this game, but we shall see. Let me know anyway in the comments below what you guys think about that. You've got to talk about Spurs last night. Honestly, if there's something you can rely on in football, it's when you're feeling down, is that Tottenham will always find a way of making you laugh. And it was funny yesterday. And I would have laughed at anyone. It's not just the fact it was Tottenham. It was anyone that would have been funny. To come back from 3-0 down, to make it 3-3 in injury time, for a player who hasn't scored all season to score the equaliser, to rip his shirt off, to do a chicken dance, and then a minute later to give away a goal and lose 4-3. Honestly, it was just two of the funniest minutes I've seen in football. And then Jurgen Klopp pulling his hamstring, running down the touchline. I mean, it was bad because he was running down to shouting the fourth official's face, which is a terrible look. And he should be absolutely punished for it, and I'm sure he will be. But the fact that he pulled his hamstring doing it was just absolutely clear. It's going to go down in Premier League heritage, those couple of minutes. It was really, really funny. I have to say, I couldn't stop laughing at it. And it's just always, Tottenham always find a way, don't they? Just to find a way of cheering you up when you're down, and they certainly did that yesterday. Classic football. He doesn't love the Premier League when things like that happen. All right, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Good luck again to the Arsenal women tonight in their semi-final. Fingers crossed you can get the job done and get to the final. 60,000 people at the Emirates. Special night that will be. I'm heading to the Emirates tomorrow for the Chelsea game, of course, so keep your eyes peeled from all the usual stuff from me. And anything you've seen, agreed with, disagreed with, anything you want to have your say with, having watched this videos, please do, as always, leave a comment in the comment below. Have a very good day, everyone. I'll speak to you soon.